let's bring him on. Let's bring on Joe Alt, everyone. Joe, it is good to have you on the show, my friend. How are you doing? Where are you, man? Where is Joe Alt right now?
I'm up in Minnesota, back home. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Is that the old room? Dad kept it going for you?
No, this actually isn't my sister's house. So believe it or not, this is my sister's house. But no, I am in the same house, same room. So yeah.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
All right. So Joe, I've been, me and you have known each other for coming up on 4 years or so. Have you heard about this fan club?
Oh, I've seen it. Definitely have.
I mean, I've got the receipts. I mean, I started this hashtag. I don't know if you know about this, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag Joe Alt fan club. Joe Alt had a pancake on Kyron Williams' touchdown run. And then there was an offensive lineman who you may know. I think he played next to you last year. Pat Coogan quote tweeted it with hashtag Joe Alt fan club. Over the years, yeah, Mike Singer just tweeting out Joe Alt fan club. I don't really have a question here, Joe, but I got you on the show. I had to bring up the Joe Alt fan club. I didn't know if you wanted to speak to, many of the people who are watching this who also are members of the Joe Alt fan club.
I would start by saying I'm really appreciative of you starting a fan club for me. Thank you all the followers who have been following my fan club. I hope I'm, holding up my end of the bargain and making sure the fan club is one that's fun to be a part of. And thanks for being a part of it.
It's all in good fun. But again, I was not about to have you on here. And look at all of these.
Goes back a long ways.
Hashtag Joe Alt fan club. My favorite would be tweeting some of these. And I know Joe Alt's not a big Twitter guy. You probably have tweeted 10 times in 2 years or something, but you would always like some of them.
Yeah.
That would always make me happy.
Oh, yeah. Every once in a while, you'll see me like something.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Going to you, Tim.
Hey, yeah, Joe, I was telling Mike, I got to have a fun one to start, a little icebreaker question here. So I started thinking, you've played USC twice when they're in the top 10, Ohio State twice when they've been in the top 10, Clemson, you beat them when they were number 4, but you never played Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3rd and 3. Notre Dame is up 20-17. It is a typical Notre Dame Michigan slugfest.
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 3 with 2 minutes to go. What are you running behind you? You going to do an inside zone double team, or are you going to run a counter right off of you? What are you picking?
I'm actually going to do neither. I'm going to go to our duo scheme.
Yeah.
Our duo scheme out of our 12 personnel is always my go-to. I think, utilizing our tight end room and the offensive line, getting behind us, getting as many double teams as we can, and just, running it right at them. No surprise. They know what we're running. We know that they're going to be blitzing it, hitting it hard, and may the best man win.
Now that's awesome. So, yeah. It's like, now can we get this thing back? Can we get Notre Dame and Michigan back together? So that's the one thing thinking about your career. Obviously played great games and whatnot, but man, as Notre Dame fans and Michigan people, we don't get along. So yeah. One of these days we're going to get back on the schedule. So
that'd be awesome. I obviously would have loved to have played Michigan, but I can't complain with the schedules I played. We played some great opponents and had some really fun games in there.
You played some. You want me to go, Mike? So my next one, Joe, is you've had the luxury of 3 O-line coaches, 3, which is like, and 3 really good offensive line coaches, no doubt about it, And my big question is, as you get ready for the NFL, you're going to have your 4th O-line coach in 4 years. But what are you going to take from the 3? What are you going to take from Coach Quinn, Coach Hiestand, Coach Rudolph? What's one little item that you think about all the time when you're preparing, watching film, or you just went in meetings at the combine, and something always sticks from those guys as you get to the NFL?
I would say for me, start with Coach Quinn my freshman year, always looking at the game plan very specifically, understanding the defense we're going to play, and kind of my first taste of offensive line plays, understanding opponents, understanding 4 down versus 3 down, how many backers are running, what, how they respond to 11 versus 12 versus 13 personnel. What are we going to see? So I think for me, the general grasp of the game with Coach Quinn, with Coach Hiestand, I'm going to go to, the basics, the technique, from start with your stance to your alignment, to the guy's alignment on defense, to, your footwork, to where you're carrying your hands and stuff like that, I think was really where Coach Hiestand developed my game. And with Coach Rudolph this past year, I think adding tools to the toolbox, changing up sets, changing up how you punch, 2 hands versus, independent hands, changing things up, kind of not always being so predictable, and kind of taking it to the defender more so than kind of giving the same set every time.
Tim, if I can jump in, Tim, you mentioned 4 O-line coaches in 4 years. I mean, you can even say 5 and 5 going back to high school. Is there challenges in that? You're like, oh man, like I got another O-line coach to learn from. I'm sure there's some excitement there. Harry's coming back. You can look at who he coached at Notre Dame, but there's got to be challenges in that too, especially like, okay, you were recruited by Jeff Quinn. Okay, Harry comes in. You got Harry. Oh, okay, now here's a new guy coming in. There's also, there got to be challenges there, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be a couple of challenges, just kind of getting to learn that coach's coaching style, or his personality and how he approaches the game. Is he more of a film guy versus on field, and what his approach to it? But for me, I think I've been blessed to have a lot of different coaching styles and been able to take things from each coach to put into my toolbox and add to my game to allow me to play to the best of my ability. So for me, I think it's kind of been the best for me because I got to see a lot of different styles and they all have worked for me. So it's been really, really fun.
Tim?
Yeah, no, just that's perfect. Just to jump right into my question, which goes right out of that is, I hear you and Blake Fisher at the combine, and obviously your interviews that you did this past year. You guys always talk about the standard, and that's the standard at the in the O-line room. Going back to the 3 coaches in 3 years, even going back to your freshman year. I mean, you come in and it's like 4 dudes are gone to the NFL off that great 2020 O-line that went to the playoffs, all those guys getting drafted and playing in the NFL. And then before that, Harry Hiestand kind of built the culture, so to speak, that's lasted through Jeff Quinn. And what did Joe Rudolph do? And more importantly, you, Blake, what did you guys take when you came in from the older guys like Josh Lugg and Patterson are like, hey, this is how we do things. So now you and Blake are leaving. So now it's like, okay, this is how we do things. This is what Charles Jagusah's saying, Baker's saying, Coogan's saying, that type of thing. What is that O-line standard and that mentality that just keeps going year after year in South Bend?
Yeah, I mean, that standard is something that's harped every year when you step in there. Like my first year, God taught me right away. And I think the simplest way to put it is every day you're working against yourself and you're never going to stay the same. If you think you're staying the same, you're getting worse. So you always got to be pushing yourself to, become better as either a person, a student, or on the field. You got to be getting better some way or somehow. And I think that's the standard in the simplest way. And for us, it's pushing each other, with a little competition, between positions. It's competition between, being the best unit on the team. It's all of that. And, going from school into workouts or school to practice, making sure you're always being that accountable player, coming in ready to work and just trying to lead the team to, have as much success as possible. So I think that's the standard and what we kind of live by in the offensive line room.
Joe, I'm curious about what the past couple months have been like for you since the season ended. You rocked the combine. What's the process been like for you? I mean, are you traveling a ton? Is it just a ton of meetings, lots of working out? Like, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, I mean, I tell everyone whenever they ask me that I'm currently living in my parents' basement, with no diploma and no job. So that's what I'm up to at the moment. But, for me, it's been a lot of training, the last 2 months, getting ready for the combine, getting all the agility and the 40 and the bench and getting everything that where I wanted to. And, now since that's ended, it's been a lot more meetings, Zooms, starting some of my 30 visits and things like that. And just kind of, for me, that's also very important to be able to do that stuff, but making sure I'm still staying on top of my workouts and, getting in the required work to continue to, my passion is always be the hardest worker on the field and be the most ready going into whatever it is. So that's kind of what I've been trying to balance since the combine.
Joe, I wanted you to put kind of like your analyst hat on, and I'm going to show you a picture of a recruit and tell me, do you think that he's got a future as an offensive lineman?
That looks like a quarterback to me. I know it's not. That's got to be what is that? Got to be my junior or senior year.
No, it's definitely not your senior year. I want to say it's junior year.
It's got to be junior year. That's a young, probably looks the same in the face, but that's a skinny Joe. I mean, that's probably 6'6", 6'7", 220, maybe 225. That's a kid with a dream, playing tight end, enjoying football, and hoping his body's going to develop to someday play offensive tackle like his dad. I mean, that's as simple as that one is. But he's trying his best, that's for sure.
So that's like 2020.
Yep.
And then what Joe, I remember one of my last interviews with you
Yeah.
on the phone before you got to Notre Dame. I joked with you. I was like, every time I mention your name, you gain 5 pounds. And you really did go from 220 soaking wet to by the time you got to Notre Dame, you're 250. And, we're talking the span of 4 months there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Joe, how did you put on this weight and not, and it was good weight.
Yeah.
Joe, how does that turn into that?
That's a lot of eating. That's a lot of eating right, hopefully. A lot of protein. And for me, it was especially in that transition, from senior year to showing up at Notre Dame. I knew tackle was going to be it. So making sure I'm eating enough, getting my 3 to 4 meals in a day, protein shakes before bed, wake up in the middle of the night, eating more. It was just, I knew that's where my body was going. I wasn't the fastest tight end, but I wanted to be a fast offensive tackle. So put on the weight right and not losing my athleticism. And some I had to work really hard at. People say oh, I'm so jealous you get to eat. It wasn't really always a fun thing. It was kind of force feeding at times, but got to where I feel comfortable with my body weight and I feel good. So it's been well worth, the force feeding for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So the picture I showed you, that was your junior year, again, probably 220. And then I feel like your senior year, more in that 240 to 250-ish. And then, get to Notre Dame, probably 270. Tim, what's up?
Yeah, no. Let me ask a follow-up question, Joe. I don't know if I've ever heard you really talk about this, or has it ever been asked, is when you showed up to Notre Dame, as Mike's talking right here, and you're whatever you were weight-wise and things of that nature, obviously, Blake was there all spring. He goes and starts Florida State. When did it click in for you? Holy moly, obviously Blake gets hurt, but you still have Carmody, you still have Baker. What was that? I mean, it's fast-paced with you. How quick did it go? I've never really heard you talk about from Florida State to getting ready. Obviously, you're blocking against Purdue. Second half, you go into halftime against Cincinnati, and they're like, all right, Joe, go have fun. And then you're going out there against Enter Sandman and Va Tech. Yeah. What was that fast process? I mean, it was quick.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
I think for me, the first thing was I kind of got a little nudge towards the end of summer conditioning. Coach Quinn called me and said, you really worked your tail off this summer. You worked really hard in the weight room on the field. Coach Bayless noticed, and he said, we think you deserve a shot to be on the field in some facets. So basically, we want to, get you ready, let you learn the playbook at, a heavy tight end position. So I started learning some of those, the duo, the inside zone scheme, some of that stuff, just learning it. And, learning at tight end and tackle, it really wasn't much different. It's one spot down. The combinations are, one word's different, but it's the same thing. So kind of started learning the playbook. And, as guys, got hurt or got moved around, it was all right, I just kind of told myself in conversations with my dad, it's if I get this opportunity, I'm going to get it and never look back. And as soon as I got that opportunity, I was all right, got to put the best foot forward. I'm not a senior in high school anymore. I'm not a freshman. I'm part of this, these 5 guys in the offensive line trying to win a football game. And that's kind of how I approached it. And, for me, I knew I was young and I knew I didn't necessarily have that technique that the other guys had. So I tried to, make that up in the film or making sure I was the most prepared guy with both the playbook and, with what I was going to see that week. So I could try to have the most success, even though I was, a younger guy with not as much experience.
You mentioned your dad there. Shout out to John Alt, the co-president of the Joe Alt fan club.
Yep.
Yeah, what a legend right there. What a guy to learn from too. No. Someone who did the tight end to tackle route, but he did it in college. You started it in high school, obviously. Mm-hmm. I know your senior year. I wonder.
Played one game of tackle.
Got one game of tackle, but you were basically a 6 offensive lineman as a tight end. Yeah, yep. So even more of a tackle, right? Junior year, you definitely tight end. Senior year is okay, you're a tackle disguised.
Get a couple passes here and there, have a little bit of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So 3 years at Notre Dame, that's not 4 for 40, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have plans to go back and get your degree? When do you plan on doing that? What does that look like logistically with you playing in the league?
Yeah, so I got about a semester and a half left. I plan to return next spring and hopefully knock out as many of the in-person classes as I can. And if I can somehow squeeze where I can figure out to do some summer ones over the summer and knock it out. If not, return the following spring. But definitely going to get that major. I've gotten too far and worked too hard for it. So that's definitely something that's on the, the forefront of my mind and want to get back and finish that up.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Tim, you got anything else for him?
I mean, I'll just bounce off of what you just said right there, Joe, was when did you know? When did you know you're like, I'm going to go pro? Obviously, your dad, people don't realize your dad was a first round pick. He was the second offensive tackle pick that year as well. And, he's in the Kansas City Chief Hall of Fame, which he's there with one of my favorite Notre Dame players growing up, Tim Grunhard, who is absolute. I mean, he was Quentin Nelson before Quentin Nelson. Grun was a dude back at Notre Dame, but which I'm sure you know that as well. But when did you know? When did you just tell yourself and talk with your dad? Like, I mean, it's hard to pass up, obviously, where you're projected and what you've done at Notre Dame, but just talk about that little conversation as well.
Yeah, for me, it was one of my biggest focuses was, there's a lot of outside noise going on this last season. And for me, it's like, I can't listen to that because, if I dip my finger into it, it's going to consume me. So it was me. I really took a lot of pride in, all right, this is today and how am I going to get better today, and really tune out all the outside noise, and it's going to take care of itself when we get there. So I didn't think about that, focus on that until, the season was ended. For me, it was, all right, well, who we got this week? How am I going to get better? What do I got to work on to prepare myself? And, I ended up playing with Stanford, and I think probably one of my best games I played at Notre Dame. And, I was really happy with my performance. And, I think me and my dad had a conversation, and it felt like it was the right time. It was kind of a calling from God for me. And it was a time to, take the next step and move on and, fulfill my dreams that I've had since I was a kid, walking into the basement and seeing my dad's jersey hung up on the wall for the Chiefs and the pictures and stuff. So it was just kind of that final game and the season and how I felt was just kind of the right time for me to move on.
Okay, Joe, as we get you out of here, one more thing for you.
Yeah.
Looking at the Notre Dame offensive tackles that are still there, there's like three main guys, I would say. Let's start with the one who we think might be replacing you as the left tackle, the guy who played in the Sun Bowl, Charles Jagasaw. What did you see from him last season? Came into Notre Dame with the high expectations, and in that Sun Bowl, he definitely looked really good. So curious for your thoughts on Jagasaw first.
Yeah, I think the two main things with him is his athleticism at his size and his mental approach to the game. I think when getting to know him and getting to see how he worked and thought, it was very similar to me, and he had a very mental approach to the game, and kind of also had, we know the same body types, but also that athletic ability and how he plays and has the ability to mirror guys in pass pro. And then, he's a strong dude in the run game. He's going to be very effective there. So I was very happy with everything I saw, and, tried to instill as much wisdom as I could while I was there, and being able to watch him with the Sun Bowl go out there and perform and have a heck of a game. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Okay. Tosh Baker, might be the right tackle for this team, replacing Blake.
Yeah, me and Tosh are very close. We've been close since we got there. I think, we have pretty much the same exact body type. It's been really fun to play with Tosh and get to know Tosh more on a personal level. I think he has all the ability with his length and size, and also his speed, his athleticism as well. I think he's going to be, a great run blocker and even better in the pass game with his size and length.
Emil Wagner?
Yeah, I think Emil is probably the fastest and most athletic guy on the offensive line. It's funny, we have plays especially this year, like the backside cutoff on a zone scheme, you'd see him flying across the field to cut off a safety. I think he brings a effort level to the game that's really impressive, and I think he just continues to get bigger and bigger and stronger. He's going to be a heck of a player.
Cool. Well, if you ever make it to Canton, you just got to make sure you throw out the Joe Alt fan club and Mike Singer. That's all I'm asking, Joe.
All right.
You don't have to mention me at anything else. But if you make it there, the one guy who just really believed in you from the beginning,
I appreciate
people
it.
asking me all the time, Joe, for this Notre Dame recruiting class, who's your Joe Alt, Mike? Who's your Joe Alt? Who's that guy?
That is
I get
true.
it all the time.
No, that's awesome. And I appreciate all the support over the years. It really is. I really do appreciate it. And it's been a lot of fun. And, I'm going to miss Notre Dame for sure. Those 3 years were some of the best of my life. And I couldn't be more grateful for all the people and supported me or around me there at Notre Dame. And the fans are some of the best. And the Joe Alt fan club is one fun one to be a part of for sure.
Hey, Joe, just a quick NFL. Are you going to the draft, or are you having a party and whatnot with family?
We're still discussing it. I know I got a big family, so we're trying to kind of figure out the logistics of the whole thing and how we're going to do that, just because I got 4 older siblings who all got families, so we're trying to figure out everything and how it's going to work out.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Joe. Have a good one, man. Take care.
You too. Thank you, guys.
You guys, Joe. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. That was pretty cool. We got Jason in the YouTube chat saying one more year.